Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to start off today. As far as business world is concerned, we're gonna get into inflation numbers tomorrow and the reaction behind that. Obviously, we have earnings coming down the pike and some things to talk about. But I really want to get into this new Congress that we've got going here. So we've got a new Congress, new House of Representatives. The fighting has stopped and concessions have been made. I'm a little upset at some of the people that are covering what's taken place, and quite frankly, the hullabaloo in regards to the IRS is on the chopping block. No, it's not. No, it's not. That funding is not going anywhere, people. But anyway, is it another case of meet the new boss, same as the old boss? Again, little Who reference right there. Well, let's get into some of the concessions that McCarthy had to make. And again, I mentioned here on the program, we go against conventional wisdom and the narrative that everybody's trying to push on you, that this pushback against McCarthy was somehow horrible for the Republican Party and there's no unity there. No. And anytime you're fighting against these entrenched powers and special interests, you're doing the right thing. And again, did I like the way Matt Gaetz was acting? No, I didn't. Again, my opinion was kind of making a fool out of himself. Was making it about him, trying to put on a big show. But some of the things that they've accomplished. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens next. First and foremost, it's this thing. It's called the Jeffersonian motion, and basically, a single congressperson can move to remove the speaker if, in this case, it's McCarthy goes back on his word on some sort of policy agenda, something that he promised. Number two. They're calling it a church-style committee is going to be convened to look into the weaponization of the FBI and other government organizations. The CIA was originally the subject to the Church Committee, which is the CIA spying on American people. But I think that this is great, but I don't know how they're going to go about doing it. Again, the left in the mainstream media right now is freaking out over this. They're absolutely losing their minds on MSNBC. What did that douchey boy Swalwell say? It's like Al Capone investigating Elliot Ness. This is the thing. You go back in the day, liberals used to be, pushing back against government overreach, big government. Intruding on lives. I mean, even some of the pushback that they gave back for the Patriot Act. It's a weird world we're living in right now when you've got supposed liberal. They're not liberals, they're progressives. There's a difference, okay? They are progressives, and progressives are for a larger state, more power over us, more of a you want to put it this way, a China style type of government. They have no problem. They would love to institute the social credit nonsense that takes place in China. So anyway, I'm all for this. And for years and years and years on this program, I'd rail against the power of the executive branch of government. I mean, even going back to, you want to go back to Snowden and WikiLeaks and all the things, finding out that the NSA is tracking our searches, they can see our emails, all of this stuff I went off on. And at the time, the Sean Hannitys of the world, the Sam the Eagles, they were all for that bullshit. I said, these guys are heroes, for crying out loud. Our government is not supposed to be doing this. And obviously it's gotten much, much worse. But again, it's not just the FBI, NSA, CIA. FBI should have been disbanded a long, long time ago. Okay, it's not the place of Clarice Starling going after Hannibal Lecter And we've seen the overreach and the things that they've done as of late. They shouldn't be involved in politics at all. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. But it's not how it works. People get jobs, they get entrenched in power, and it's an awful situation. And it's not just, again, I wish they wouldn't just stop with the FBI. Talk about the swamp. You want the swamp? You get all these acronym agencies out there that act as judge, jury, and executioner. It's how they operate. And all of this power resides in the executive branch of government. We're supposed to have checks and balances here in this country. I cracked a joke about this on the program. It was funny. I was doing this on the show, and then Saturday Night Live picked up and did an actual skit in regards to this. And it goes back to my childhood. Saturday morning cartoons. And they used to have these, it was kind of like PSAs for kids, if you will. And they had this thing called Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a Bill, just an ordinary Bill, sitting here on Capitol Hill. And I remember the tune. It was basically showing kids how a bill became a law. We don't have, our legislature, they don't really do much when it comes to laws. They allow these agencies to write all this. Is the Federal Registry. And these agencies, again, they can come in and they act as judge, jury, and executioner. It was funny. It was Saturday Night Live actually went after Obama. Went after Obama. And if it was in regards to him, deciding what immigration laws he was going to enforce. And it actually had Obama push the character, the I'm Just a Bill character, down the Capitol Hill steps. I'm just saying, people, that this is, make Congress do their job. If you're gonna impose some sort of regulation, some sort of burden on the American people, don't you think it should go through the normal process? But again, that's not what our Congress does anymore. Our Congress basically fundraising. That's what they do. Spend most of the time rather than legislating. They spend their time. They've outsourced that. We haven't outsourced enough. They've outsourced legislating here in the United States to the executive branch of government and these acronym agencies. Anyway, moving on. Term limits is going to be put up for a vote. I wish that was the case. Do I think it's really going to go anywhere? Probably not. Probably not. I wish it would, but and again, I've mentioned this before. I think it should be termed out of Washington. When I mean termed out of Washington, they're going to come up with a set number, whether it be, I don't know, 10 years maybe? That's it. 10 years is long enough to spend in Washington, D.C., meaning that you can divide up your years basis to get to, if you, for example, if you decide to be a senator for 6 years and then you decide to run for the presidency, guess what? You only get one term because you get termed out after 10. We got a Logan's Run, Washington, D.C. That's it. 10 years, you're out. It's over. I think 10 years is a good amount. I mean, we got a pretty dynamic country here with competent people that have done amazing things. And I'm lucky enough to be in contact with these people. My clients are crying out loud. We need more people, need new blood. Bills presented to Congress will be single subject, not omnibus, with all the attendant earmarks. And there will be a 72-hour minimum period to read them. Okay? The Texas border plan will be put before Congress. This is a 4-pronged plan and aims to complete a physical border infrastructure, fix border enforcement policies, enforce our laws in the interior, and target cartels and criminal organizations. Sounds good, but it's not going anywhere. That's great. It's great, but it's not going anywhere. COVID mandates will be ended, as will all funding for them. Good. Budget bills will stop the endless increases in the debt ceiling and hold the Senate accountable for them. And again, the big one that they announced, the first thing that they announced, we hit the ground running. We hit the ground running. We passed legislation to defund the IRS. It was part of the, that was part of the infrastructure bill, wasn't it? Or no, it was Inflation Reduction Act, excuse me. Yeah, the 87,000 new IRS agents. It's going nowhere. I mean, that's great that you passed that and all, but it's symbolic. It's, dead on arrival in the Senate. They probably won't even bring it up, and the president's going to veto it anyway. So my point is exactly that. What's the point? What's the point? You're just wasting time. It's an exercise in futility. Anyway, again, this is a little bit more. It's the New York Times. I'm going to get their take. Divided House approves GOP inquiry into weaponization of government. I mentioned this earlier. Wide-ranging investigation into federal law enforcement, national security agencies. They say this is basically as of a concerted effort by government to silence and punish conservatives at all levels, from protesters at school board meetings to former President Donald Trump. This is going to be the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. It's going to be chaired by Jim Jordan, who I happen to like a lot. I do. Again, I like a lot of things. I'm not a big fan of Jim Jordan and the whole election stuff, and I don't know what his connections continue to be when it comes to Trump. But I mean, this goes back even further, and it's not just the FBI. I mean, remember Lois Lerner and the IRS going after certain conservative organizations and their tax 501(c)(3) their tax-free status there. I mean, this is nothing new. And again, I'm going to take everybody back in time to some degree. Certain things that politicians will say, and I'll catch. I don't know. It's almost like a Freudian slip. Sometimes they mess up when they're on air, or they're in a friendly confines and they go off to too much, more than they should. And Chuck Schumer did this on Rachel Maddow's program after this was right after the election of Donald Trump, when he said that Donald Trump's going after the CIA and the FBI, and these agencies have, what do you say, 6 ways past Sunday to come back and get you. And I'm saying to myself, what? I said, that's frightening, people. That's frightening that this guy actually admits that we have government agencies that if you criticize them, they're going to come get you. Anyway, we'll see. Again, I'm sorry for being pessimistic when it comes to Washington, D.C., but I am. I wish I could be optimistic, but I'm just not. I don't think that these folks are going to really do much when it comes to spending, because again, that's what the number one. You want to deal with national security. We got to get our debt in line. You already have some of the conservative publications out there worried that the Defense Department's going to be on the chopping block. Oh, give me a break. Wall Street Journal. Oh, that's the first thing about it. They are such shills for all of the defense contractors out there that continue the growth of our military. Listen, again, you were spending more of this money on the actual servicemen that are risking their lives and the VA. I get all that. We owe these people a lot more than they're getting. But I mean, seriously, for crying out loud, make do with what you're getting. Take a look at our defense budget and you compare it against the rest of the world. I mean, it's the next 6 countries underneath us combined do not spend the money that we spend. Anyway, this kind of brings me to my next thing. We had I mentioned last week on the program, this ridiculous Three Amigos summit here. You got Obrador, Trudeau, and Biden here talking about helping out when it comes to supply chains, and Lopez Obrador not happy, saying Biden has forgotten Latin America and the Caribbean and the need for us to make investments. Yeah, and they did talk about drugs. and fentanyl and all that good stuff. But and I've said it here on the program, and I don't really hear anybody else talking about it. Actually, Trump did, and I'll get into that in a minute. I just mentioned military spending, and this is a point I brought up before. It's something to think about. If ISIS conducted a series of terrorist attacks that, let's say, targeted Americans around the globe over the course of a year, and the death toll to Americans was over 100,000. How do you think we might react to that? Let's, God forbid, let's say, let's say some foreign body decides to attack, an American outpost somewhere, and thousands are killed. Not over 100,000, but thousands are killed. How would we react to that? Again, how did we react? How would we react after September 11th? I do think the initial drive into Afghanistan and root out Al Qaeda was the right thing. We decided to blow it up into nation building, which is, and occupying a country that's not ours, is stupid. Well, you got to think about what a screw up. I'll get into it later. China just signed a deal to develop oil with the Taliban right now. Taliban is back to the way it was back in the 1990s. So all of that effort, all of that money, all of that was for nothing. And again, I would have predicted that from the get-go. Yeah, people have to kind of evolve by themselves. It is what it is. But anyway, we've got this all-powerful military of ours. We've got over 100,000 Americans being killed by poison that continues to come across our border. We talked about fentanyl and how deadly it is. I mean, it was a kid that came in contact with some at a San Francisco park, dropped dead. Police officers have to be extraordinarily careful. Stuff can kill you, just not even a minute amount. Not to mention the fact that we've got this new crystal meth that's coming into the country. So, again, at what point in time do you Don Corleone the thing, or Michael Corleone? Yeah, I do Michael Corleone. Either you're going to handle this or we're going to handle it. If you think that the Mexican government is going to be able to root out the type of corruption and whatnot down there, it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. It would be almost better for the Mexican government to say, hey, you know what? We're going to hand over this entire territory south of Texas, all this drug. We're going to hand it over to the cartels and then just let us go in and just wipe them out. Donald Trump said that if he's successful in his bid for the presidency, he will order the U.S. military to crush Mexican drug cartels and show them no mercy. Talks about the open border policy, deadly betrayal of our nation. What does he say he's going to do? Talking about drug cartels are waging war in America. He's right there. He's right. Trump has suggested using military force against drug cartels operating south the border, including launching missiles into Mexico to destroy drug labs. Again, the president doesn't understand, the former president doesn't understand how these drug labs operate. I mean, they're small. They're small. I mean, you're thinking Walter White and his RV cooking up meth in Breaking Bad. Yeah, they're not huge drug labs, and they're mobile, kind of like the RV. Doesn't take much to cook this stuff up and hide it. You need people and massive amounts of people on the ground, and you need cooperation with the people down there. It's ugly. He says, he would deploy. Trump said he's going to deploy all necessary military assets, including the U.S. Navy, impose a naval embargo on cartels and make sure they can't use regional waters to smuggle drugs into the country. special forces, cyber warfare. They're also going to go after their ability to access the global financial system. Again, I got crypto for that at this point in time. Again, since Biden's become president, got over 200,000 people that have died of drug overdose here in the United States. Now, again, we're part of the problem too. We're taking the drugs. And this is, something we need to discuss. If you are a citizen of Mexico and you see what these drug cartels are doing and the horror and the things that take place, then they overran a prison. What was it, last week or the week before with like tanks? Okay? This drug cartel's using tanks. The biggest issue we have is the fact that we're doing drugs. We're the ones taking the drugs. I remember talking about this years ago, and they would show the ingenuity behind some of these tunnels that are built from Mexico into the United States with air conditioning and lights, and you got like train tracks in there to move things across the border. Again, the submarines that these guys use, we are doing the drugs. Okay? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, you know what came first? Demand for something. There is a demand for this shit here in the United States, and it's stronger and more powerful than ever. Again, unless we got to go all in. You can't half it. If we're going to decide, hey, you know what? We're going to use our military. We're going to go in there. We're going to have to work with them to some degree, and there's going to be casualties, and there's going to be political blowback. But again, a lot of people are talking about it, but does anybody really want to deal with it? No, it's almost become a third rail to some degree. Think about it. Over 100,000 people a year are dying they're being poisoned here in the United States. Some are being poisoned by accident. They didn't even know. Others, that they're willingly taking the drugs. How do you handle it? Good question. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about jobs. I know I did this on Friday to the jobs report. There's a story going out there. Goldman Sachs planning to cut 3,200 workers starting this week. That's 7%. They said that they're going to do more than that. The reality is that during the pandemic, Goldman's payroll grew by 11,000. Now, Goldman Sachs, a very tough, kind of initiation training program there, and they kind of cull the herd every single year. They haven't done that over the past couple of years. So this is kind of playing catch up. And I mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it again. I said, you're going to see many companies out there using the, quote, blame the economy on why they're laying people off. No, they stupidly hired too many people over a period of time, and they have to get back down to size. It's the reality. This is funny. Larry Summers, smartest guy in the world, just ask him, he'll tell you. He was being interviewed on Bloomberg, was it Wall Street Week? And he was looked like he was in the Caribbean somewhere. And he's got his, shirt on, the sun, the palm trees, ocean in the background. And he starts talking about the jobs report and how the fact that Americans are losing their jobs, this is a good thing. This is great for the economy. Now, the optics are not good when you're saying something like that and you're on vacation in the Caribbean. Listen, we do not need to wreck the economy. We do not need to have unemployment go through the roof in order to get inflation down to size, back down to where we'd like it to be. It's not necessary. Again, going to see layoffs in companies that did overhired, and I call those good layoffs and versus bad layoffs, which are companies that are, Bed Bath and Beyond. They have no choice. They have to lay people off. They're going out. They're going under. Again, it's this weird area that we're in where we seem to think that, bad news is good news and good news is bad news. And I've never bought into that ever, quite frankly. Anyway, moving on here. Okay, I think the Biden administration is recognizing that things might not go their way. Might not go their way in February. Supreme Court, when it comes to their student loan forgiveness. Again, it's not legislation. They actually called it legislation. Signed it. No, there was no legislation. It was, I do declare, I do decree. Here's from the Wall Street Journal editorial board today. Supreme Court next month is going to hear a challenge by states to Biden's $400 billion debt write-off. In case it loses, the administration on Tuesday rolled out Plan B that would wipe out hundreds of billions of dollars in student debt on the installment plan. The Education Department is proposing rules it says will transform income-driven repayment plans. Basically, what they're going to do is they're going to say, hey, we're going to lower the monthly requirement of discretionary income from 10% down to 5%. Now it's 10% now, and if you don't pay off your student loan in 20 years, it's forgiven, unless, of course, you're a government worker. Which, again, you try to explain to me how that makes any sense. Government or nonprofit, if you don't pay your student loan off after 10 years, it's forgiven. This is somehow, these are better people, that they're doing God's work. Because the last time I checked, again, any small business owner that hires people and helps other people put food on the table, they're doing God's work. They're the ones that actually make the country work. I'm sorry, it's not you nonprofits out there, and it's not government. You guys go away tomorrow. Let's just think about it this way. Talk about essential. Oh, essential government. If you guys were gone tomorrow, guess what? My business is still running. Country's gonna keep going. It's a reality. But anyway, again, 5% discretionary income, which is defined as adjusted gross income, subtracting 150% of the poverty line. And administration is proposing to reduce what is considered discretionary income by increasing the exemption to 225% of the poverty line. So anyone who earns less than $30,600 will not have to make any monthly payments. Yeah. Again, you could be an apps. You could go to college. You go to college, and you know what? You can be an absolute F up. Skate by, graduate with a 2.0. Not get a very good job coming out of college. Now want to apply yourself, spent all your time partying. And guess what? You got a job as a, it's fine, nothing wrong. Just, work as a barista, whatever it may be. I'm going to pay for your loan. You out there, my listeners, you're going to pay for this person's loan. I'm sorry. It's nonsense. It really is. Again, a Biden, this is another, you're going to have another court challenge in regards to this as well, and that'll have to go to the Supreme Court. Anyway. So now they're coming for the gas stoves. Oh, boy. They're considering a nationwide ban on gas stoves, citing harmful pollutants released by the appliances. I'm sorry, people. It's not the gas stoves. You got to have a hood, and you got to have proper ventilation, and everything's going to be fine. They're calling it a hidden hazard. Products that can't be made safe can be banned. Yeah. They emit pollutants, nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and fine matter at levels deemed unsafe by the EPA and World Health Organizations. They're also saying there's links to gas stoves and respiratory illnesses, cardiovascular problems, cancer, and other health conditions. They say more than 12% of childhood asthma cases can be attributed to gas stoves. How the flip did you know that? I see stories like this. I'm like, BS. This is nonsense. Okay? First and foremost, it's about better ventilation in your home. That's helpful. What does this mean? Let me think about this for a second. And I'm again, I am always following the money here. There's going to be certain people selling certain appliances that are going to stand to gain for this. If you think about any restaurant out there, they got gas stoves. I've yet to go into a restaurant kitchen anywhere and seen electric stoves. Never. So does that mean that these restaurants that have gas stoves are now going to be subjected to lawsuits from the ambulance chasers, the Morgan and Morgan for the people types out there saying, all right, you work at a restaurant and you have problems, respiratory problems, you have a right to sue. Oh shit, here we go. Again, this is inflationary. Okay, this is what this ban on gas stoves is. Inflation. It's going to, if it goes through. You follow a line. The ambulance chasers out there will be all after this, filing lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. Anyway, this is a bit of a see I told you so. Knew this was going to happen. China is, like I said, they're 180. Beijing signaling its 2-year, high-tech internet crackdown. Looks like it's coming to an end. That's what happens when your economy starts to head into the tank. Again, it wasn't too long ago when the mainstream media, and especially on the left-hand side, was having a collective freak out over Donald Trump and documents found at Mar-a-Lago. In fact, they conducted a raid of Mar-a-Lago. And this is all happening at a time when, guess what? They find out that Biden had intelligence materials that was related to the Ukraine, Iran, and the UK going back to when he was vice president at one of his offices there, in his private office. They were dated between 2013 and 2016. They were found in 3 or 4 boxes containing unclassified papers. How are they going to handle this one? Again, you're watching them scrambling in the mainstream media, and on the left, of course, trying to defend this. Not the same thing. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, and it was covered up. Again, how's Merrick Garland going to handle this one? One more quick story on crypto here. More and more of these blow-ups here. The Winklevoss twins and their Genesis trading platform. And I'm going through and I'm going to be honest with you people. I didn't pay. I mean, I made fun of it here on the program because I knew the whole thing was a lie. It was a fugazi. But just how ridiculous this all was. Again, to me, this is not the Securities and Exchange Commission, not anything. This is fraud. This is fraud, and the Justice Department might want to look into this. But again, anybody tells you that they can guarantee a rate of return well above what the 10-year Treasury is paying, it is extraordinarily risky. I don't care what sort of magic coins they're telling you or how they're going to go back. I mean, it's just 7, 8%, 15%. I mean, come on, people. Again, there has to be some personal responsibility involved in all of this. Again, you got to take responsibility, understand that everything in life that has meaning, value, and worth involves work, time, and effort. Have a great day, buddy. WatchDog on WallStreet.com is our site. We'll see you.